Uranus was doing some crazy things this past weekend, and it was all related to the law of correspondence. So let's decode some data points and get to it. Welcome back to the Universal Laws with Kristy Sturdivant. Today, I am going to be talking about kind of the law of correspondence in a big overarching theory. So, if you have been paying attention at all to astrology, this past weekend was kind of a major shift in the cosmos. We had the planet Uranus transition or transit into the sign of Gemini from the sign of Taurus, which is kind of a big deal in the collective. And so as it affected me personally, I wanted to talk to you guys about how it is kind of relating to this law of correspondence. You can look at it as the big picture, as in the huge universe going on outside of you, versus what is going on inside of your body, because it was really big significance for me. I want to give you a little bit of backstory first. So in the last couple weeks or month, something around there, I have been kind of moving into this new phase of my life. It's a new identity of sorts. I think that throughout our lives, we always shift into these new identities, and this one kind of lined up perfectly with the cosmos. I have been in this space of self-improvement, manifestation, universal laws, human design. I've been going around in this space for several years. And in the past year, I have kind of come out publicly, very publicly online, and I have been talking about this. And it has been great. I've enjoyed it very much, but it's always felt a little bit almost, I don't want to say unsatisfying, but maybe not quite perfectly in alignment. And I think part of the reason is because as a 6'2", I don't really always resonate with that role model part of my profile. It's because part of the reason I haven't transitioned into that phase yet. And another part of the reason is that I don't really see myself as a coach or anything. I see myself as a teacher. I see myself as someone who, grabs someone by the hand and leads them and shows them hey, this is what I have done. This is what you could do as well. It is very role model-y, but that's not something that really fits well into this space of spirituality or self-improvement, right? In order to be successful, historically, one needs to be a coach. They need to be offering coaching sessions, either one-on-one or in groups. They need to be doing digital courses, yada, yada, yada. And even though I do have digital courses, which you can find at my website, I have never felt fully good about stepping into this space. And so I've been toying with the idea of shifting my identity. And I have decided that I am going to be stepping into this role as I'm calling it an alignment cartographer, right? I look at myself as this person who goes out and takes a concept like the universal laws or human design, and I like to tinker around and I like to experiment with them personally or through observation, either with myself or my family or friends or whatever. And then I like to share it. I don't think that I feel comfortable saying this is what you should do, because I don't believe that anyone can coach you into doing something. This is how you should do it. It's a very personal journey. And so I like to lead as a role model, and I like to say, this is what works for me. This is what could work for you. These are the points on a map that I would suggest you explore and look at if you want to get to possibly this space or that space. Hence the term alignment cartographer, okay? And so this is something that has been kind of settling in my space for a couple weeks. When we were coming up on this transit that happened this past weekend, it actually happened on the 25th at 8:51 p.m. Eastern time. as we were coming up on this, I was really uncertain if I wanted to move forward doing a podcast. I knew I wanted to move forward with this alignment cartography, but I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to happen or what it was going to look like. And quite frankly, I just didn't have the motivation to do it. All right. I kind of like had a rough week, a rough month in a lot of ways. And so I just wanted to curl up and I wanted to just play a little cozy game on my Switch and just kind of tap out. But I did come across this Instagram post that was talking about this particular transit, and it kind of like shocked something inside of me that made me go, oh, this is exactly what the law of correspondence looks like. And this is how I am going to show people, in a way, how I map it out for myself. So I'm going to drop this picture of this Instagram post that I came across, which, by the way, is also another really great way to observe the law of correspondence out in the wild. It is by seeing these signs and synchronicities around you that perhaps seem arbitrary, but trigger something in your subconscious and makes you go, I wonder what that means, or could this possibly mean this? It's very magical and beautiful, but also a lot of people deny it. So it's one of the ways that I think is the best way to kind of like quickly explain the law of correspondence, like the synchronicities and signs. Those are the outside world triggering inside of your body to make you shift directions. Anyway, I'm putting this post up here from your.astro.club on Instagram. And basically what this post is saying is that this is in the next 48 hours after Uranus moves into this position, these are like 5 things that you can look at in your life and use them as data points for the next 7 years, 6 or 7 years that Uranus is going to be transiting through the sign of Gemini. Which I love a good experiment. You know this. Okay. And I used this experiment on myself. I sent this to my sister. And then I did not tell my husband about this experiment until this morning when I said, oh, hey, this happened this weekend. Did any of these things come up for you? And he said, well, I really wish you would have told me this earlier so I could keep an eye out. But that's part of the fun, right? First, before we dive into my data points, let me talk a little bit about the energy of Uranus, the planet. Okay, so if you look at Saturn as this planet that kind of gives you this foundation and this stability and is very rigid and everything, Uranus, it's kind of like very like a shock and awe kind of planet. It comes in and it's, hey, we're going to shake things up. We're going to put things on its head. We are going to throw caution to the wind and we are going to rebel against what has been happening in the past. And so, interestingly enough, I just discovered that Uranus is the only planet that actually orbits around the sun on its side. So it's a rebel in itself. And so having it move from the sign of Taurus, which is a very grounding, earthy, stable kind of energy, into this Gemini energy, which is very airy and communicative and technological, data-driven type thing. It's kind of a really big shift for us as a collective. And so if you have felt any of this slogging through mud like I have this past week or so, this is why. It's because Uranus is up there doing all kinds of crazy things in the cosmos. All right. When I came across this Instagram post and they said these are the things that you can kind of look at and then see how it plays out over the next 7 years or see the trajectory that you're going, I thought this is a perfect way to talk about how the law of correspondence works at such a big level and then within us. And then also using my new identity as an alignment cartographer, give you the way that I personally am mapping it out. So I thought I would just perhaps overshare a little bit with what I'm doing here. I'm going to talk to you now about the three or four data points. I think I actually have four data points that I have, and then I'm going to explain to you how I am translating them and how this is helping me move forward. So here goes. Data point 01. The first thing that I noticed when I woke up on Sunday morning, which is like right after it transited, was there was a song that was running through my head nonstop, which is not completely out of the norm for me. I always have random songs running through my head. Maybe a lot of people do. I don't know. But this one is a song that I had just heard like maybe once in the past couple of weeks passing. I think it was on an old playlist that my kids had played while we were driving somewhere and it popped on. And I was, oh, yeah, I forgot about this song that it even existed. But it was I Lived by One Republic. And so I had to do a quick little Google search. Another fun fact about me is that I'm not very good at interpreting poetry or song lyrics. I take everything very literally. So I had to get a little quick background on this song just to see if there was any underlying messages that I was not catching. But this song was written by the lead singer to his son saying, hey, I want you to live life to its fullest. I want you to go out and I want you to just have all the great experiences that you can in this life, which is it's a very positive, upbeat song, right? And that was the first thing that I was like, interesting. The second thing that came up for me was a conversation that my husband and I had on Sunday morning. And we were sitting there talking about habits. And we were talking about how very common it is for people to have habits that they don't necessarily even realize that they have, that kind of give them like a sense of comfort, and how disruptive it is when those habits just change for no good reason at all. And I was telling him about this episode that my boys and I were watching on The Big Bang Theory. It was that episode where Sheldon's couch cushion gets messed up, and he also in that same episode finds out that the restaurant that he'd been ordering food from was like actually out of business for the past 2 years, and how it was very, very disruptive for him. And so I thought it was like a very interesting thing, because later on in that day we had a big change and shift that we were going to have to deal with in our family home dynamic moving forward. And so that was another really interesting data point that we had that was very fascinating. No big deal. My third data point was this slog that I was talking about with my website. So as I've been moving in this new identity, the idea of like moving and making my website, like redoing it whole thing, it was very daunting to me. I'm not really super technological. I'm getting much better than I was, but I still have, I don't want to say underlying fear of technology. I have this part of me that is low level stress that I'm going to break the internet if I mess up my website, which is very old school of me, but I have kind of broken a website or two in my day. And so this is something that kind of really messes with my nervous system. There was a part of me that was very nervous about the even idea of going in and redoing my entire website, because doing it the first time was really quite the painful process for me. And I had no motivation to do it. This past week, I was like, is there any way that I can bypass this completely and just survive off of an Instagram account? Because the thought of going in and rebuilding my website and making landing pages and connecting everything without them breaking was just, it was a lot. And I just could not do it. But I woke up on Sunday morning and I was, oh, you know what? I think I could do that. And I knocked out a landing page in an hour and a half, which is really good for me. And it kind of gave me a template on what I wanted to do for this whole new rebranding that I have been doing, which was very exciting. My last data point that I had for this transit was my Instagram and Facebook page that was connected with Meta. So I've had some issues with my old Instagram account. It's kind of an old one that I set up several years ago. I set it up with a random password, I guess, that I lost. And I tried to reset it, but I had the wrong password. And they don't like that. And it was one of those things where it was kind of a dead account. And I think I deep down knew that. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to dump it. I'm going to start a whole new Instagram and Facebook page type situation. Well, I got my Instagram page up. It's empty, but I was like, okay, great. I have this Instagram page. I'm just going to go ahead and make a new Facebook page and connect this. Well, this has been quite the issue. And like I said, technologically, it felt very, very sticky and very old Taurus energy, thinking that I need this space, I need it stable before I move forward. I've had all kinds of issues just creating a new page. I'm working with Meta. It's all fine. It's not going at a fast pace, but it's going to happen. But it was one of those things that when I discovered that I couldn't do something that I had been able to do technologically, it sent this chill down my spine. And it has taken me a month or two to be okay, it's not that big deal if this doesn't happen in the time frame that we want this to happen. Uranus is also the planet of your nervous system. So if you are having any kinds of things pop up that's just making you clench up, then that is Uranus saying, hey, you need to deal with this before we can move on. That was my fourth data point, was my whole social media catastrophe that is in the process of getting fixed, but is taking longer than it normally does. Now, Uranus is, as it is moving into this Gemini it's ruled by Mercury, which is the god of communication, and it's the god of like fast-paced travel and data, and it's very airy, and it's very quick and lightning speed and everything. And that is, things are moving at a really, really quick pace. And so if you are still in this stuck Taurus energy, it's going to feel very, very, very disruptive to you. And if you are stuck in any of your habits, you're also going to be feeling a little bit off track, because all this energy is moving around you, trying to push you forward, trying to get it through your nervous system so that you can shift into this next thing. So I took all of these 4 data points I had, and I thought, what does this mean for me? These are 4 things that I can look at, that the universe is kind of bringing into my subconscious, that I need to take inside of me and start integrating so that I can align myself even more and move forward. So one is technology. Technology is not really that big of a deal. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, duh, of course it's not that big of a deal. But technology is also not as big of a deal as we have made it out to be, okay? We have all been riding on this big concept that we need to have these things in place in order to be successful as either entrepreneurs or in education or whatever. Technology is changing at a rapid fire pace, and it is okay if it feels very disruptive, and having it disrupt your nervous system, you're going to have to be okay with it, because it's probably going to get even worse. So that was my first takeaway from this whole thing. My second takeaway was I was probably getting a little bit too complacent in some of my habits. And I think about habits a lot. I always am thinking about my habits and what habits I can add and what habits I can shift. But I need to be even more flexible with what is coming, because change is always inevitable, which goes with my last insight, is that things are expanding at a rapid fire pace. We have no idea how things are going to be expanding. Things have expanded so much in just the past 3 years. Technologically speaking, it's going to be coming out even more. And so I need to get my nervous system in check and make sure that, building a website doesn't seem like a scary thing. It needs to be okay if something in social media crashes, because it's good to be diversified and have, my podcast or my books or, collaborations with other people or whatever. It's good to expand out from what the norm is. No longer are we living in this place where you can live and die by your social media accounts. And that's a good thing, right? We need to be a little bit more flexible because times are changing. And it was just so interesting to me, because this is exactly what I talk about all the time. This whole theoretical stuff about the universal laws. Yes, it's very helpful. It's great stuff to contemplate and everything. But if I can't give it to you in like real life form, then what good is it going to do you, right? Yeah, it's great to know that this is how the law of thermodynamics works. But if you touch a hot pot and you didn't remember that, well, that's a bummer. So this is the next evolution of who I am becoming as this alignment cartographer. I want to help people explore the universal laws in a way that they can utilize in their everyday life so that they can start navigating their life in a way that feels more aligned for them, that feels really good for them by using all of these tools that a cartographer would. I love to use the astrology. I love to use the human design. I love to use oracle cards, tarot cards, runes, whatever it is. This is what this is all about. This is what my whole purpose is, teaching the universal laws. It's to show you that this is the thing that is happening outside of you. But if you take a moment to kind of really look at things and kind of dive deep in, even though they may seem like silly and ridiculous and that they don't have anything to do at all, maybe they are giving you clues on how you are supposed to move forward, or which direction you're supposed to move forward in, or maybe that your vibration is a little bit too low, or perhaps this is what you're attracting, even though you thought you were attracting this, and perhaps you should take this action instead of, this one, because you're not leaning into your emotional authority or sacral authority. Whatever it is, this is the point of what I am doing. I want to be able to help guide you through this like crazy life adventure with these super cool tools that we all have accessible, that we have not quite been able to remember fully yet, but we're starting to remember at a very cellular level. So that was a big Uranus transit, guys. It was kind of huge. And if you had some big insights that you had happen over this weekend where you're like, I don't even know what these data points mean, please help me, decode them. Drop them in the comments, shoot me an email. You can check out my website, KristySturdivant.com. It's under construction. I have a new Instagram account coming out, the alignment map. We're going to figure this out, because life is an adventure, and we got to make the most of it. Okay? So I hope you have a fantastic week, and I will catch you next time. Bye.